Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be here to share with you some of the experiences we have at China Mobile. First of all, please allow me to give you a little bit overview of China Mobile. As you know, China Mobile is the largest mobile operator in the world, both in terms of subscriber base and in terms of network scale. As of last month's count, we have reached about 540 million users. Our network has reached over 530,000 base stations. Comparatively speaking, AT&T, for instance, has over 100 million users, about 160,000 base stations. But comparatively, geography between US and China about relatively the same. So it is no wonder that you have a much better coverage in China. So we have covered roughly about 99% of the population in China, to almost every single village in rural, as well as to the base of Himalayas, the highest base station in the world, 6,500 meters by altitude. And when you do climb the Mount Everest, I can guarantee you that when you reach to the top, you should be able to send an MMS to your friend and make a phone call on China Mobile's network. And we truly believe that the most important law in mobile communication is the three rules. That is coverage, coverage, and coverage. Similar to real estate. Location, location, location. And that is the key. So we strive to make the best mobile network in the world by providing the most extensive coverage. Now, going forward, we are implementing similarly in strategy for our 3G networks. Since last year, we have started nationwide deployment of TD-SCDMA network. At our current plan, towards the end of this year, we will deploy over 160,000 base stations. Many of them are on new sites, but of course, still more are based on our current footprint. So we truly believe that we are starting to have a very high quality network. As you know, that TD-SCDMA is a China originated relatively newer 3G standard. So in terms of maturity, we are still a little bit behind, both compared to WCDMA and compared to CDMA 2000. However, we are very quickly solving most of the problems, and we're very quickly overcome the maturity problem, especially on the terminal side. So, I can personally show you, I have in my hand the newest generation of terminals that has, it's upcoming China Mobile's Huang 2.0. It has, now the leading edge world standard using both China Mobile's OMS operating system, which is Android based, plus, the latest and greatest processors. So I can confidently say that in less than 2 years of time since we have getting to the field trial and deployment of TD-SCDMA, we are very confident now it will become a compelling and high-performance network. Especially now we are faced with the best possible opportunity for China Mobile and for many operators that have not yet deployed 3G is now we can leapfrog and going into the next generation of 3G, which is so-called LTE. Now, with the combined strategy for TD-SCDMA and LTE, we are now probably enter the most golden opportunity for the next generation growth of mobile communication, which is the mobile internet era. So let me talk a little bit about the mobile communication in general and what really had happened throughout the history. So many of you probably are not aware, more than 30 years ago, there was a fellow, his name is Marty Cooper from Bell Labs. So he was walking around in New York City, wielding a huge backpack full of circuits, trying to prove that you could actually build a telephone network using a bunch of radios. Later, AT&T decided it wasn't really a technology for AT&T because everybody had a phone. Why should they have another radio phone? So there was a little company called the GTE, and they have decided to do that and motivated Motorola to license the technology out of the Bell Act. And the result is what we know as AMPS. And that started the revolution. And little did we know, because at the time, that the mobile phone was called the car phone. You know, it's so big, it's supposed to be put in the car. So it never occurred to people the revolution that when mobile phone became personal, what would happen? So, not until when we entered, you know, the portable terminal era, when the AMPS terminal became a portable unit, did people realize that how important that is to have a personal communication device? And the rest is history. We call the first wave of revolution in mobile communication was the unraveling of fixed line communication. By 2006, the number of mobile subscribers had exceeded the total number of fixed line telephone, and that was less than 20 years after it was introduced to the market. And we know, since then, it had become a phenomenon worldwide. In fact, many people believe that the emergence of mobile communications had probably contributed to the world economy more than what the internet had contributed to the world economy. But of course, we don't have to start that debate, but I would say both the internet and mobile communication have now contributed to the growth and further growth of our economy and our industry and probably our future as well. And it has provided a better life for all of the people, both in the city and in the rural area. Especially when we talk about the rural area. The life improvement in the rural area has been dramatically improved over the last 20 years in China by mobile communication. As you know, that China not only has the largest population in the world, but also have the largest migrating workers. You know, every year more than 280 million people migrate from one place to another to find work and then return. And when they do, the only means for them to communicate with home, in most cases, are through mobile communication. And this has obviously contributed to the economic growth in many of the rural China, but also it contributed to the high growth of China Mobile's business. You know, years ago, when we were asked by the government to improve the rural coverage, we did it because we thought that was a good system. But then we realized later that was a very prudent business decision. We actually improved more than 5% of China's total density and total coverage through that process, and it actually has made a Harvard Business School case study for showing if you provide equal access to the rural region but still benefit and profit from it. You know, unlike in the U.S., of course, you know, in the U.S. every consumer has to pay a rural tax. You know, when you pay your telephone bill, you know, probably I think 5% of which goes to FCC and then goes to cover rural communication. So I think what they should do is learn from China Mobile and try to make money out of it. So if you look at really, very rarely in an industry where you have a disruptive force in two stages, and what we call the 1-2 punch in mobile communication. So with the unraveling of fixed line communication through mobile has been made by the widespread use of second generation mobile communication, namely many by GSM technology. But if you look at what is happening now with the emergence of next generation smartphones, with the emergence of high-performance, low-power devices, along with the emergence of mobile broadband technology. What you will see is yet another level of high growth, where people will gradually migrate from fixed line internet to mobile internet. People's lives will be completely changed again when their primary information devices will change from computers to their mobile phone. And we truly believe that that revolution is yet to come, but it is happening as we are speaking. In this area, China Mobile has spent the last 3 years promoting worldwide a fundamental technology shift from CDMA to OFDM. As we know, CDMA technology has helped us to develop the best mobile communication in voice. CDMA, using some spectrum technology, really provides very high signal-to-voice ratio when you communicate it with relatively low speed. But when you move to wideband communication, where your bandwidth communication generally exceeds 5 megahertz to 10 megahertz, it becomes impractical to continue to use CDMA technology. So, many of the industry has now pointed out to using OFDM as the next generation technology. So speaking from the engineer's point of view, I think if you look at the technology point of view, OFDM is much lower cost and much more scalable. It will allow you to not only move to 100 megabits in downlink speed, but also eventually moving towards 1 gigabit. So we know, we don't necessarily have to communicate on a personal level at 1 gigabit, but clearly when you are on the cellular communication, when you cover a cell with many people, potentially hundreds of people communicating, you clearly need something that is far greater than today's 14 megabits WCDMA HSPA or even 100 megabits of LTE. But clearly, we have a technically feasible strategy and technically feasible roadmap to go to 1 gigabit if we implement our next generation radio through OFDM and MIMO technology. So, I believe in terms of the ultimate modal communication direction, it is very important that we have a worldwide effort, that we work together for the migration to happen faster. To that end, China Mobile, along with Ericsson, along with Verizon Wireless, Vodafone, and many other vendors, we have been working very furiously at 3GPP and many international standard bodies. We have done a complete unification of TDD and FDD LTE, and we are now on the road to create, for the first time ever, a unified LTE standard worldwide. And this is the first time in the history of mobile communication now we have the opportunity to create a single standard for next generation mobile communication. And I truly believe it is a tremendous accomplishment, having recognized by all the professionals in the mobile communication industry. And it also represents a golden opportunity for a global mobile communication revolution. And China Mobile is happy to be part of this revolution and to be a leading force in making LTE to be the next generation global mobile communication standard. At this World Expo, I would like to extend an open invitation to all of you to go to China Mobile's pavilion, at the communication pavilion, hosted by China Mobile and China Telecom on the Puxi side of the World Expo. Our staff there will be more than happy to show you the TD-LTE demo. We have a live video, we have a robotic demonstration, and there's also on some of the shuttle boats on the river, when we have some demo over there as well. And you'll be happy to see the progress of the latest generation of technologies. Let me kind of expand on this a little bit on what we think our next generation service would be. Over the last 10 years, we have been working very proactively in expanding what we would define the information services area of our mobile communication, and we generally call that data services. As we expand, you can see not only we can provide music, we can provide digital board content, we shall be able to support video and multimedia 3D contents directly on the mobile phone and on the next generation tablet PC, similar to that of the Apple iPad. And we can also see, for the first time, I guess, on mobile communication, since in the past mobile communication systems have a relatively long delay and they're not able to provide real-time gaming play and many of the delay critical applications. So the next generation mobile devices will allow you to play, for instance, computer games online much more compellingly compared to what you can do today. Furthermore, if you look at some of the development in the areas of mobile devices, one clear area of future is what we call machine-to-machine communication. You know, many people would like to call that a smart planet. Yet more in China, we call that smart sensors. But having defined that, I think essentially what it points to is a future direction where the number of mobile subscribers will not be centered around human population, but centered or maybe co-centered to non-human users, meaning machines. Now, if you talk about the machines, the number of machines or the number of machines with a lot of intelligence or the number of machines with computers far exceed our population. If you count your home appliances, you count your cars, count industrial machines, count city infrastructures, count agriculture, count healthcare, so on and so forth. What we will see is the potential that mobile communication will provide the level of ubiquitous coverage and the level of intelligence and distributed connectivity with which we can improve our productivity, we can improve people's lives, we can save people's lives, we can provide better city, safer, we can improve our healthcare. We see the potential maybe a magnitude higher than that of human subscribers. So in that regard, I think we should be fortunate, I feel fortunate that we are in this industry to provide that level of service to the society and with which I think we can continue to grow. And China Mobile, based on that assumption, we strongly believe that the growth of mobile communication will continue, and we believe mobile broadband, the machine-to-machine communications, as well as the emergence of smart devices with the migration of entertainment, migration of digital living to the mobile devices will reshape our industry yet again. And thank you so much.